Hi, we're getting everybody on right now, so welcome, welcome. All right. So we are here together with Temple of the Sacred Heart Church. I am Isla Valkyrie.
I am Takata.
So we're going to be broadcasting to our separate channels. So some of you on our different channels don't know both of us, or you might not know us at all. So we want to tell a little bit about who we are and what we're here to share. So thank you so much for joining us. Today is Lammas, which is one of the 8 Sabbats of the Celtic calendar. It's also called Midsummer. Some of you might have heard the Shakespearean play Midsummer's Night Dream. That's actually a holiday. Midsummer is a holiday. And so this is the time of year that we're at. The August 1st is that midpoint between this and the fall equinox. So here we are. It's a beautiful day for ceremony.
It's nice and warm, feeling the midsummer heat.
Yes, yes. I'm going to turn off my notifications here because I just heard something pop up really quick. So as y'all jump on, I'm going to shut down these messaging apps in my computer just to make sure that that doesn't pop up. And so we're just happy to be here. We're excited to be here and super glad that you guys are jumping on. So with no further ado, just want to share a little bit about what the 8 Sabbats of the year are, just for those of you that aren't familiar with the Celtic Shamanic calendar and the wheels of the year. So if you're familiar with the wheels of the year, drop in the comments. Yes, the wheels of the year or the Celtic Toltec calendars, what calendars you follow. Now, we just had the Mayan day out of time, and that is the 25th. So that's actually the new year starting in the Mayan calendar. So that also on July 26th, we had a new year cycle in the Mayan calendar, which is extremely significant in the story that we're going to share here in a moment about our twin flame journey and some significant things that have happened with our health this last year and then this year again over that cycle. So do you want to share a little bit about what the 8 Sabbats are or the main ones? And I could share the ones in between.
So most people know about the solstices and equinox. So we have the summer solstice, winter solstice, and then the equinox in the spring and the fall, which are the in-between points. And then the others are the in-between points of all of that.
So like it's every 6 weeks, there's a shift in the cycle and it's very cyclical, it's very rhythmic. I did a blog for a long time called The Rhythms of the Goddess. So for some of y'all who might have followed me for a while, you remember that we were doing over the pandemic and everything, sharing about different goddesses and the different themes of the year. And so we have the summer solstice, which just happened on June 21st, 22nd, 20th, 21st, 22nd, that whole area of time. And so now we're heading toward the fall equinox, like I mentioned. And so now we're right in the middle of that, which is midsummer. In Texas, it is super.
Yes. Triple digits for a long minute now.
Yes. Yesterday we went mermaiding at Barton Springs with 2 other beautiful mermaids. If you don't know what mermaiding is, check our Instagram stories. And so the springs are just so magical and they stay between 68 and 71 year round. And so as we were out there, it's so refreshing. Yes. So we saw some big, huge clouds coming in over downtown Austin and began to call in the rain. And sure enough, we were just calling it in and yelling at the skies from floating there in the sacred waters. And within about 2 hours or less, the clouds started to move over. And we got a couple little drops in downtown Austin. But when we came home, we actually, leaving Austin, share what you
saw. There was a rainbow, and it was shining bright, and then it was kind of the double rainbow there at the end. And so it was really beautiful to catch a little bit of that, even though we really didn't catch much rain. It was just a few sprinkled drops. But when we got home, we realized that it had had a nice rain here on the property we live on, and it has been, like week, 2 months.
Yes, it's been hot and dry here. So we were super, super grateful to have the rain on Midsummer. And we also saw 3 deer right in our path on the way home, and they just stopped and watched us. It was really special. It was very beautiful. So that, and then we're here in our festival trailer, and this is where our studio is. And I decided to sleep out here in the festival trailer, and the moon, just watching the moon come up and having the doors open and the gate open and just watching her go all the way across the sky. I would just wake up every couple hours and just see her and standing and basking in that, and then coming back to bed. So I just kind of was in and out of ceremony all night long, which was so beautiful as the moon was coming through the trees. And so the grandmotherly energy was very present for me during that.
I was in the AC. That was very nice.
So I have a little incense here, and I'm going to just smudge to start our ceremony today. So just clearing and releasing and allowing whatever is coming up for you to just rise up. And then just release it to spirit. So we have all of our instruments here on the wall, which will be holding a ceremony here later today for a private where they live in the meanwhile. Just call in the intention to, hey, thanks for joining. Calling the intention to just be present in this full moon energy. We're in the Aquarius supermoon. We're also in Leo. And I am a Leo rising, so my Leo energy has been really fired up right now. And I've been sharing a lot more live videos and just kind of state. So you
General fieriness. Yes.
full on right now. So this is why we chose to come back online after taking about a year sabbatical of doing these live videos, and just utilize this beautiful Lionsgate energy to really bring in this intention to connect with you, to bring the new earth energy into our frequency, to bring in this freedom lifestyle of the ability to pull in the highest timeline of what the desired life that we have, utilizing all the freedoms, time, location, health, money, all of it. So calling all of that in this beautiful shamanic ceremony intention. So what are you calling in right now for yourself? What does that look like for you in this new earth as we envision and dream everything and is completely here and now? What does that look like for you? So I'd like to invite you to today just to kind of come in and drop in and be in a space of intention, of really your vision of what your life could and should look like, and realizing that if it's in your heart and it's in your thoughts, it's already here. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? Calling into the vortex?
Calling it in. So that just being in that trust, being in the energy of that which you desire for your life, and really embodying what that feels like before you actually have it, and putting it into the vortex in the sense of, if I'm already experiencing the joy of what that feels like within my being, then now I'm actually raising my frequency to match that which I'm calling in. And that's how you actually attract it to yourself and your life.
Yes. So we are calling it in the highest frequency, in the highest good, and whatever that looks like for you. So we're calling in money, health, freedom of time. We're able to travel and live wherever you want. And so this is the lifestyle that we've called in for ourselves. And we're here as online branding coaches to also share that with you if you want to learn more about how that looks. We have lots of free tools. Site yogaforlove.com, under the store, under freebies, starting with affirmations. It's one of the first things that you can do to really rewrite those old stories. And so just kind of really evaluating, like, who defines success for you? where do you get these stories of your limitations of like, oh, well, I have to do this to make money, or I have to work so many hours to make money, etc. So what do those stories look like? And rewriting those once we figure out where they're coming from. So just kind of taking a deep dive and maybe journaling a little bit about that. The affirmation creation worksheet is in my Instagram bio under my link tree, and it's also on our website as a free tool for you. So I'd love to invite you to download that for a little journaling exercise here on this ceremony as you go into your own private ceremony tonight with this beautiful full moon energy. So today I'd just like to share a little bit about the details of how the Celtic calendar flows. So do you want to kind of start with that, and we'll share a little bit about how that lapsed into our story from when we went tiny last year.
In what regards and how it flows?
Right. So how the calendar flows. So let's start with talking about Midsummer first.
Okay.
And then how it flows around the year.
So we go from to
Samhain, which is also called Halloween.
yes. Then we move to winter solstice.
That's December. So it's right around the holiday season, December 20th, 21st is that December winter solstice. So that's as the light grows the fullest, and then it's going from summer all the way to where the light is the shortest on the winter solstice. That's the shortest time, the shortest light. And so then it starts back into
inward. It's the going inward. The winter solstice is that going in. So we're like from the fall equinox going into the winter solstice. It's an inward journey, and from the winter solstice coming out, that's where we start to kind of come out of our hermit mode, if you will.
the leather bear.
So yeah,
so we just celebrated with the summer solstice. So now we're 6 weeks out. So now the days are getting shorter, and all the way to winter solstice. And as the days get shorter and shorter and shorter, that's that hibernation period that she's speaking of, where we really go within, go into the womb-like space, go into our own self work, our shadow work. And that's why the winter is so important. And even if you're in a tropical environment without seasons, you still have that cyclical nature within our human design. So as we're coming out of the winter solstice, that's when the light begins to return. So the winter solstice is the return of all the way back to summer solstice. So then at the winter solstice, you have and Candlemas is it's also called Groundhog's Day. Not really Groundhog's Day. They always create these fake holidays around the traditional holidays, right? So that is in the beginning of February 2nd. And then you've got,
that's the point in which really we start to feel the light re-emerging.
That's the true spring. The true spring is when the first blades of grass break out of the snow, when the first tulips pop up out of the daffodils pop up out of the snow. That is the sign of life, that the earth is coming back to life. And it's also when the farmers were like, this is the prayer that their storage of food has lasted for the winter. And now there's prayer that the babies are going to be birthed again. There's going to be new calves, new babies, on the farm. And all of this is happening as you move towards spring. So spring actually happens on Candlemas, and then we're moving toward the equinox.
Yeah, so spring equinox, most of us know that that's when, that's March 21st.
It's always the 20th, 21st.
Right in there. So that's when most of us really start to feel that like spring vibe. That's also usually right around where everyone has spring break, because spring fever starts to hit. Everything is starting to get life again, and everybody's ready to like go out and be social.
Most places it's finally warm, unless you're up north. It's actually warm enough to get outside. So, that's and then equinox, explain what that means.
So it's equal parts day and night. Right?
That's what happens in the spring, and that's what happens in the fall. So we're almost to that equal point where the days are getting shorter. We're going to have equal light and equal dark on the fall equinox coming up. And so this is the rhythms of the year. Then you're going to move right back from spring equinox. You're going to move into Beltane, which is also when my father crossed over. It's when we went and moved onto this land here in South Austin in this year, 2023. And so Beltane was actually 3 months ago. So now we're here on Lammas, which is 3 months apart. So each of these, as you look at the calendar, they're all making a quadrant, and you can see exactly across the opposite signs of the year. And this is how the Celtic calendar works, and it's how it's very ritualistic. And so as you move from Beltane, then you move all the way into the next 6-week cycle, which you're right back at summer solstice. So I hope that makes sense. If you want to receive a PDF download on that, I do have a PDF on my website that I can send you. So just drop a link in the comments, and I'll send you a link to that Shamanic calendar. And we also have the ceremony. There's usually ceremony on each of those wheels of the year. So last year we went tiny, and for those of you that just started following us or may not have followed us for a whole year yet, we have been in our RV for, June 30th was the first day
officially
a year on June 30th. And so we were living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, praying about where we were going to go. And then we went to an RV park south of Dallas in a city called Waxahachie. We stayed there. We were really enjoying our tiny life. And we had our tiny pool set up at the RV park, and we were in it every day and drinking a lot of bellinis and chilling out and really just getting into that camp lifestyle. And after too many bellinis and a lot of wet bathing suits, we both acquired massive acute UTI and kidney infections. And it was also in conjunction with the Mayan Day Out of Time, which was July 25th last year. So do you want to explain a little bit about what the Day Out of Time is and how that's significant?
So the Day Out of Time is on the Mayan calendar. Is just like there is no time to I don't really know how to
reset. Really, is
like
it's a holiday, if you will, because you're not
like the last day of the year, but it's like just considered like
it's a ceremonial day for sure, and it's a day where we just pause. And so, as twin flames, we practice sex magic, and one of the sacred sexuality practices that we were utilizing on that day took us into a really high frequency, super high vibe. And then at the end of that day, the same day, the Day Out of Time, then she comes home and says she has pain in her back, and by the end of the day, she has fever and chills and a massive kidney infection. And then it was instant. Like we hit super, super high all the way into the cosmic bliss, and then bam, into this massive physical, resurfacing of some stuff that was coming up. And then the next day, I got a UTI, and then the next day, I got a bacterial vaginitis, and all of the things in the mix. It was like this perfect alchemy to just the middle of summer. Heat up in figures.
107. Right?
It was so hot, and we were just on our backs in our bed and completely fever chills. So after 3-4 days of that, we're like, what the actual crap? We decided we were going to get a teledoctor appointment, and we were prescribed antibiotics. I haven't taken antibiotics since my children were born, and my son is 25. But I was in such acute pain that I was like, I'll do anything to get rid of this pain. It was excruciating. And she was pretty much incoherent off and on in her fever chills. And so she's like, sure. So we went to Target the next day, picked up our antibiotics. I took one while I was at Target, slugging it down with my morning coffee, and it's just this taste that was horrible. It was this big old pill, and it was horrible. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through 10 days of this? And they gave me two, one for each infection. And I asked the pharmacist, I was like, are you sure that it's okay for me to take both of these at the same time? She's like, oh yeah, they're for two different things. My intuition was going off left and right, but also I was very ill in my body. And so I was like, okay, this has got to be the quickest answer, which was totally, like in hindsight, not the best decision. But she took her antibiotic as well. We came home, had our day, we were relaxing and sitting outside our RV. Well, I decided I'm going to go take my antibiotic. I forgot to take my antibiotic that evening. So I ran inside the RV, shut the door. She was going to go take the dogs for a walk. And I'm very, very, very grateful. Within a few minutes, I was like, oh, I have a great idea. I told her right before I walked inside, I said, I'm going to put the pill in a grape. You know, like you wrap cheese around a pill for your dogs. Well, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just take this pill, you know, like this would be super easy. So I go and do that. Well, you can share your version right here of this story.
I said, no, don't do that. You'll choke. And she proceeded to go into the RV,
Shut the door.
And I wasn't sure if she actually heard me. So that's why I didn't take the dog for a walk. I waited, and sure enough, a few moments later, I'm hearing horrible coughing, gagging, stomping on the floor. I can hear it outside the RV.
I'm inside. I swallowed the grape. It went down with my drink, and I'm pretty sure I was still drinking the same coffee. And because I spurted up coffee, the grape with the giant horse pill lodged in my throat. And I was like, okay, remain calm, use my yogic breath, use all of my energy in Uddiyana Bandha and push in and up and force the air out. Well, I did that. Nothing. So I tried to take another breath. About maybe 5% of the air was coming into my lungs. And I was like, oh shit, this isn't good. So I try to fill up my lungs very slowly and methodically and get some air in there and try to push out. And I started stomping. There's no chairs in an RV, so I couldn't lean myself over a chair. Thank God as she heard me, and she comes rushing in the house, and she's like, are you choking? And I'm like, and she's like, I told you not to do that. I said you'd choke. And she Heimlichs me. Mind you, she's like 7 inches short. Like 5 times. And she's going, now we have a contract. We're doing this together. Come on. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. So I pee everywhere. I pee on her foot. I'm choking. I'm coughing. And then all of a sudden, boop, out pops a grape with the pill still in it. And I was like, oh my God. That just happened. Like, I could have totally just checked out right now. Like, that was my plan C, apparently, like my execute plan. And so as I sat there and kind of like took in everything happened, then I started bawling. I'm like, ah, oh my God, I almost died. And then we just went and sat outside and just laid on the ground laughing. Like, this, like.
Well, what was interesting is when we walked outside and we laid down on the ground, everything was calm, everything was peaceful. It's like no one else was disturbed, right? This was like this moment that was happening in our reality. There was chaos and a moment of potential death, and no one else is affected by this. So we're just like sitting there, and it's just like crickets and all peaceful. Nothing is happening. Like, okay, we just had that experience, and yet no one else knows. Like we're just life. Life is happening all the time, and crazy things are going on, and there are people that are absolutely not affected.
But needless to say, I stayed here, and I'm here on this mission to do this work. We are here together as twin flames. We came in as master teachers in this life to really up level the energy and the new earth energy of this planet and bring in this new earth energy. And so then as we were staying in the RV park, the next day we went to go pay our rent for the next month, which was August. And they said, oh, you don't have a spot. We leased your spot because you didn't pay your rent. We're like, well, we're paying our rent now. I'm like, oh no, you have to pay it a month in advance if you're going to continue to stay. And we're like, oh my goddess. So mind you, we still have these massive infections going on. She still has fever and chills. I was feeling a little bit better, and we have to move the RV. We've never driven the RV farther than Waxahachie, Texas, which was 15 miles. And so we had to pack up and move. And next year, this decision, and our dear, beautiful goddess friend, Cheryl Kenna Freedom, said, come to our property. I don't know, I posted something on Facebook like we're going to move. We don't know where we're going. I think we're not going to Austin at this time. Anybody have any ideas? And she said, come live here. I'm going to put in an RV site. You're going to come stay here. Just come on. And so for 9 months, we stayed there. It was a perfect womb cycle. And it was during that time where the energy was getting, those days were getting shorter, and we stayed over the whole winter, and it was very, very, very nourishing and nurturing. And it was really pretty much, being in that hibernation phase while we were there. And so we stayed there with Cheryl, and Shannon lived there with her tiny house. She's still there as well. And it was so beautiful. But meanwhile, while we were there, when we first moved to the property this time last year, we held a shamanic ceremony to really call in the energy of the land, to clear the space of all of her ancestors. She had several family members that recently were squatters that were living on the property. And so we cleared all of that out and did a shamanic ceremony. Her turkey, her pet turkey, gave up her life that morning, and it was hotter than hell. And her turkey just died and gave herself up, which was very significant. The turkey is very significant in Native American teachings, and I won't go into that today, but it was very significant. Everyone that came to the ceremony received a feather. And then we kayaked out the next day and took the turkey's body out to the lake and offered it to the lake. And all the vultures were waiting, like they knew. They just knew we were coming. And it was really, really beautiful. Very eerie and very beautiful at the same time. And so then we came back. Everything seemed normal. And we're like, okay, we're just going to start getting into this new life here in Fort Worth on the lake. And on Lionsgate last year, 8/8, the infection came back in my body like a vengeance, and it knocked me out completely, fever and chills. And hers was getting better. So she started really working with the land, clearing the land. You want to share what that was like?
Yeah, I came back in full force. I had just like supercharged to just dive into the land and listen to what it was asking of me. I'm like an earth mover, so that's like,
she has a Taurus moon, and so she's very earthy in that way.
I love to work with the land and allow it to tell me how it wants to be sculpted. So I was diving into that, and meanwhile she was just dying.
It was really difficult, y'all. Like, I had no recollection of being able to eat or drink or pee or go to the bathroom at all. Like, my body was rapidly at that point on 8/8, I'd had the infection for already a week and a half. But then when it came back and resurged, my body started shutting down. And so I was on my back, fever and chills. I was reading this really amazing book, but I couldn't focus on reading. And the only thing I could do was lay in bed and pray. And it was called Anastasia. And it's completely transformative. It was very, very important for me to read that at that time. And so some of you might have read Anastasia, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So as that was happening, I was desperately trying to get in water, and my pee was like, and so my pee was like this color. There was nothing being like I was burning everything up before it could get out my body, and I wasn't able to eat, and it lasted for 3 weeks like that. I was in and out of my body. I was going back to Egypt, and I had come from Egypt about 18 months ago, 20 months at this point in time now. That month, it was like maybe 8 months from when I went to Egypt. I was traveling back and visiting our galactic family, having experiences with the God right there standing in my RV. She was having to walk me back and forth to the bathroom. I couldn't even get to my tiny bed, to my tiny RV bathroom. And so it was basically getting to a point of complete surrender. So this Lion's Gate energy is very significant and really, really strong. So some of you might be feeling a lot of chaos going on in your life. You might feel some health conditions rising up in your body. There might be some things that are coming up for you right now. And this is the portal of energy. It's not just a one-day thing, y'all. Like, portals don't open just for a day. It's already open, and it stays open all the time because we're already entering into the fifth dimension in the age of Aquarius all the time. But the portal is exactly lined up. So do you want to tell about that, what that portal looks like, the lineup of the... Okay, so the portal for the Lion's Gate is 8/8, which is during Leo season. The sun lines up with the star Sirius, and then it lines up with the pyramids of Egypt. So you've got this perfect alignment of Sirius, the star, our sun, and then the Great Pyramids of Egypt. And so this was this massive line of energy, which makes so much sense now that I put together the math of when it was actually happening, starting in the day out of time on the Mayan calendar and moving through the Lion's Gate and then sending into this massive, massive shift. We've got here Isis right here and Sekhmet right here, which I've brought back from Egypt to be with us here in our altar space that we created for this ceremony. And as we are moving into this Lion's Gate this year, I have had a resurgence of something really fucking trippy happening to my health. So I'll share with you just a moment. But if you want to share, like, you want to share anything about the Lion's Gate from last year? I think you just shared. Like when you were going, like with the clearing of the land or any of that. So yeah, so really she was digging into the land. I was completely burning up and felt like hot pavement. And I couldn't even go outside. I couldn't even walk my dog. And it lasted for, like I said, 3 weeks until right before my 50th solar return in September. And so this portal again is now open. And so what we're sharing with you today is super significant to be really paying attention to your body, paying attention to your thoughts, paying attention to what's coming up for you, because these are not accidents. Everything happens for you in the universe, not to you. And so realizing that everything happens for us, and even though that significant moment where I literally almost crossed out of my body 3 or 4 or 5 times during those 3 weeks after she Heimlicked me and saved my life, and it was this like, okay, are you going to leave or are you going to stay? Are you going to, should I stay or should I? It had me this complete, total point of surrender. And so that's really where I was. None of my practices worked. None of my yoga practices worked. None of my breathwork practices worked. None of my Reiki worked. Absolutely nothing worked except for surrendering completely to the will of God and Spirit and the universe. It wasn't until that total surrender, I went, well, I guess I'm checking out. I mean, I thought I had more stuff to do, but apparently not. And then I just completely surrendered to it, and it was quite powerful. So the last that I felt was left within me just died. And so I have a huge phoenix tattoo on my leg, and this is why. It's because the phoenix energy is really what I embody. And so being able to rise up from things like that. So what was she saying? I can't read it. I'll have to read it in a moment. Can you see it? The comments?
My depression has been so bad for the last 6 months. I can barely function.
Oh, depression.
Spiritual.
Thank you, Trust Your Glitter. Yes. So she's saying she's had depression, and it's been a 9-month period. So, if you think about things in kind of womb-like cycles, and you're going through death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth, and every time we're dying and dying and dying again to become better and higher versions of ourselves. So as we move into this Lion's Gate, you're not only celebrating this portal opening on 8/8, it's happening now.
Yes, we're already in it. So you may be noticing shifts and changes in relationships, shifts and changes or stories, old stories coming up, surfacing again, old struggles, old patterns that you may be recognizing, and you're like, I'm so over this. I'm not doing this anymore. And also, you may be in a place that I don't want that anymore, but I also don't know how to change that. I just know that that's not serving me. So right now, it's all coming up to be cleared and shed from the being. So how do you do that? How do you get clear and move through it? You have to sit in it for one. You have to sit in it. You have to go through it.
You have to go through
You can't go around it. Can't go over it. Can't go under it. You got to go through it. So there's a lot of compassion for self that we have to have. There's a lot of acknowledgement, and then there's a lot of breaking out of those, those beliefs, those stories, those thought processes that actually keep us caught in it. So being able to see it for what it is, zoom out, and be able to go, okay, like that's not me, and that's not of me. It's just been in me. How can I let that go?
Right. And if you need help with that, seek a professional, a healer or a Reiki practitioner or a shamanic professional or a counselor or, someone that works with psychedelics on a medical or a shamanic ceremony basis to help you examine those stories and what's going on behind the story and to get to the root of that so we can actually heal that. And we're not only healing it for ourselves when we do this shadow work, but we're healing it in this quantum field of existence. Time is not linear, right? It's only in this dual reality that time seems linear. But in all truth, it's all happening simultaneously, which is mind-blowing and a whole nother topic. But just to say that when you heal something for yourself, it also shoots back in this linear timeline to heal it for all of our ancestors. And you can call in this healing from the beginning of time. And then you can shoot that forward as you begin to arrive in this new self, as this phoenix of yourself rises up and becomes this new version. Then it also shoots forward into all the generations to come. And not only that, but also for the new earth and to lift the frequency of our planet. And so this is why we're doing this deep, deep work. And this is why we're teaching you these tools. This is why we're showing up back at this time on these videos. And what you can expect from these videos is different tools and teachings from different indigenous cultures, different indigenous practices, Celtic practices, shamanic practices, Native American practices, Tibetan and East Indian from the deep yogic traditions as well, which we've both had lots and lots of studies in, but also when you're looking into the body. So you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the body is the densest layer. It is the most physically manifest aspect of ourselves. And so when traumas or experiences, various types of belief systems, when they come into our field throughout our journey, throughout our experience, they begin to move through each of our bodies, the etheric bodies, on in and down to the physical form, if they make it through. And that's when they start to actually kind of embed. And this is where disease comes in. This is where chronic pain and various types of illness or injury takes place. This is how it shows us, and the body speaks to us to tell us if we haven't gotten the information on its way in
to heal it and clear it as it comes in.
Right. Then it will show up in physical form to stop you, to pause you, to make you take note.
Right.
Listen up. It says, it's like,
so you may need a body worker, you know.
So
you may need a professional, a massage, or
so
someone.
Shoulders all drawn, it's pulled forward, you know, the way it will twist and contort your physical being is all based on what aspect it's.
And there may be also an accident that happens. And so this is what happened to me. I just an accident, right? Everything happens, like I said, to you, not to you, but for you, right? So it happens for us. So just to reiterate, and so I know this, innately know this, and this is the deep, deep, deepest belief that I know is true, that everything in this universe conspires to bring us to our highest good and our highest timeline. And so by knowing that truth and believing that truth with 100% core of my being, I had an accident that happened when I was staying at my daughter's horse ranch. Now, again, mind you, it's directly over this portal. I went to stay at her place right before the Mayan day out of time. I truly think it was actually on the Mayan day out of time. No, it was right before that because it was coming up to that because I came home for our Mayan day out of time so we could practice sex magic and have an amazing day, completely off and not on social media. But so the week before that, I went to stay on the horse ranch. And so I had a beautiful clearing session, an emotional clearing session that was gifted to me from a sacred sister in Wyoming. And it was such a simple clearing, a tool, a modality that I'd never tried before. And I discovered there were some things that were in there from my maternal lineage that I had not yet cleared, which gave me a little bit more information. And it was the energy of worry. And it was coming from my mom's mom in this whole lineage. And I was able to clear it and release it. And it took about a day just to make it out. And later, I took the horse out to go take him to his feed stall. And when he was being taken back in, I didn't have my boots on, which I do regret now because I had them right there on the porch. I had my slides on, and he proceeds to freak the fuck out. I don't know why. And he was real spooked out anyway, going into the feed, scared of the round bale. I'm like, dude, that's your food. Why are you scared of your food? You know, and he just proceeded to step his left foot on my right foot. And like I had my slides on, y'all. And so as I was in a forward motion, I was holding his lead, stepping forward. He lands on my foot, and he didn't step all the way through because I fell back because it stopped my forward motion. So it made him step back, and he stepped off my foot. And so I was like, oh, this is good. This is not good. And I was like, okay, no, everything happens for a reason. I'm going to have to hurry up and put this horse in while the adrenaline's still in my body. So I walk him in, finish feeding him, put the rest of the tack up and the horse gear up. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do before I have to elevate my foot? Because I have to do something. I have to get everything done, all my ducks in a row. And I just locked my laptop in the cabin next door. Couldn't get to my laptop. Thank goodness I had my phone. I texted her, and I got some ice, and I sat and elevated my foot, and I just prayed and just stayed still. And it wasn't broken. The next day, I actually didn't swell as much as I thought it would, so that confirmed that I didn't think it was broke. But I had a sewing project for my daughter, so I just sat and I sewed her blanket. I made a little heart, and I made a patch on her favorite blanket, and watched a video call and just stayed. But the next day, to back up, the next day I had a beautiful sacred brother, goddess, come over, and we had a ceremony, and my foot seemed to be fine. And I was like in this state of shock. Like, okay, how is my foot fine when a horse just stepped on it? But I'm okay with that. And as a couple of days progressed, then my hip started kind of acting up, and my nerves started acting up, and it started to cause sciatica. And so I went to see the chiropractor, and come to find out there is some nerve damage. So with all that being said, I know all of this is happening for my highest good. I innately know that. And so you might have different health stories that have happened to you. And I'm looking at, okay, this happened on my right side. So what does the right foot, right side, all that mean? Your body.
So right foot, right side of the body is the outer world, other people, and that has to, everything outside of you, but also through the legs and down to the feet. That has to do with the father's side. So the right leg is the father's side, that is the lineage, and the foot itself is the ancestral path of that DNA from your father that you're here to walk. And so,
oh my gosh! So I had just cleared from my mother.
She had just cleared from her mother, but then she had this step on her foot, and it literally threw her back, and made her sit down. It made her get still. But what did we also uncover in the process? The pain in her hip.
So when I came back,
also got it threw her sciatic out, which the hips and the glutes. This is all associated with some control issues. It's trying to control the outer world on the right side, inner world on the left. And so she was processing and dealing with, we were working on her schedule, and she was trying to get her productivity. And what came forth was a story about not feeling productive. And I'm going, babe, you're overscheduling. You're putting too many things in one day, every day. This is like, we can't possibly do this much stuff. But what came forth was
this is about 5 days after that I got stepped on. So I was already back home and discovered that I found feeling enough productivity to be successful. And so she really forced me to sit with that and like, what are you holding in your glute? Why is it going down your right leg? What is in this right side that you're trying to control? And I just said, who's telling me these stories? Who is the one that's telling me these stories that I try to listen, like, you're not productive, and I heard you're lazy. And I heard it. And I heard my dad say it when I was a teenager. And not that he really thought I was lazy, but I really took it to heart. And it formed a story that was so old in my mind. This story's 35 years old in my mind. And I'm like, I don't even believe that, but why is it still there? And this is what I'm clearing. Like, this is what's stopping me from moving forward in my complete alignment with the divine flow, because I felt like I had to produce something. He was an IBM worker. He was a financial analyst. He counted numbers. He saw things on paper or on spreadsheets as productivity. And so these are the stories that I'm still working on clearing for myself. So powerful. And so your body will tell you these things.
Productive. This is also a piece of it as to what is actually considered productive activity,
that shit.
Right? Because oftentimes we don't allow ourselves to think of education as a productive activity.
Right. Taking time for self-care.
All of these things actually are productive activities.
And those are actually considered income-producing activities.
And income-producing activities. This is a big one for her.
So
this is a big one. We're not doing income-producing activities.
We are releasing that story.
And we were. We actually were. We were. She just didn't consider those things to be so. And so now she's had a major recognition.
It was huge.
What those things are.
And so as I went to the chiropractor yesterday, then we went to the springs and bathed in the freezing cold water at a mermaid day with 4 mermaids all together swimming and playing.
She was told that she has to be only active like what is it?
Let's not say that.
I'm
not claiming that.
Active Nana.
No. What is that? An active grandma. Oh, y'all. Now, my Nana was super busy. I do have to tell you that. But he said, Nanas don't move bags of feet. Nanas don't pick up big rocks. And so these are things that I actually had. I had several cries yesterday because I have to keep asking for help. And it's part of the receptivity being is the flow, and we have to be in receptivity in order to be also continuing to give. I wish, but the story was still there, still there. And so we're always continually the student. We're always continually doing the work. So I invite you to go deep within your shadow during this time as you sit with Grandmother Moon, sit with this beautiful Aquarius Moon energy, and open up your energy to the Lion's Gate. Open your energy to the teachings of Isis, the teachings of Sekhmet. We have Bastet and Queen Nefertari over here. If you want to go grab those, babe, and show everybody. So we have the other goddesses, Bastet and Nefertari. And so just honoring all of the teachings of the goddesses in whatever lineages that you are drawn to, and reach out for help if you need help. So that's where we're going to stop it for today. You're going to see more and more of us regularly on this live, and just stay tuned to this channel. Make sure you subscribe and share this video with a friend. And thank you so much for your time and energy, for being present in this journey together. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste. Bye.